Hello everyone and welcome to Prehistory, a Traveler's Guide. We're your hosts. I'm Dakota, and along with me is Greg and Scott. Say hi, guys.
Hello and welcome. Hello.
We got a pretty interesting story for today. We have the supercroc, Sarcosuchus, and I'll start us off with the notes today. The dimensions of the Sarcosuchus, fully grown individuals, are estimated to be up to 12 meters long, or about 39 feet in total length, and weigh probably around 8 metric tons, or around 8.8 short tons. Sarcosuchus is commonly classified as part of the clade Phyllidiosauridae, a group of crocodile-like reptiles, crocodiliforms, related but outside of the main group of crocodilians. In paleobiology, it had somewhat telescoped eyes and a long snout, which covered 75% of the length of the skull, and had 35 teeth on each side of the upper jaw, and 31 teeth in the lower jaw on each side. The upper jaw was noticeably longer than the lower jaw, leaving a gap between them when the jaws were shut, creating an overbite. In young individuals, the shape of the snout resembled that of living narwhals, but in fully grown individuals, it became considerably broader. At the end of the snout, Sarcosuchus presented an expansion called the bulla. It has been compared to the gnarl seen in garls, but unlike the gnarl, though it was only found in the male, the bulla is present in all Sarcosuchus scales and have been found so far, and suggesting that it's not a sexually dimorphic trait. The purpose of the bulla remains enigmatic. Sereno and others asked various reptile experts what their thoughts were on this bulla. Opinions varied from it being an olfactory enhancer to being connected to a vocalization device. The osteoderms of Sarcosuchus were similar to those of Sonosuchus and Genophilus. They formed an unerupted surface and started in the posterior part of the neck up to the middle of the tail, as seen in Arorasuchus and other basal crocodiliforms, different from the patterns seen in living crocodiles. Sereno took thin sections of trunk osteoderms of an estimated subadult individual, and approximately 40 lines of arrested growth, or lags, were counted in these thin sections, suggesting that Sarcosuchus took 50 to 60 years to reach adult size. Sarcosuchus had a generalized diet similar to those of the Nile crocodile.
Habitat. The remains of S. imperator were found in a region of the Tenerife Desert named Gadofua, more specifically in the Ur-Haz formation of the Tagama group, dating from the late Appian to the early Albian of early Cretaceous, approximately 112 million years. Stratigraphy and the aquatic fauna that was found therein indicates that it was an inland fluvial environment, entirely freshwater in nature, with a humid tropical climate. Fluvial means a river environment. S. imperator shared the waters with the Holostian fish Lepidotus and the coelacanth Mawsonia. The dinosaur fauna were represented by the iguanodont Lurdosaurus, which was the most common dinosaur in the region, and its relative Aranosaurus. There were also theropods, Nigrosaurus, and a currently unnamed sauropod, while the theropod included the Sinosaurid Suchomimus, the Carcharodontosaurid Biocarcharius, and the Abelisaurid Cryptops. Discovery. The first remains were discovered during several expeditions led by the French paleontologist Albert Félix de la Verence, spanning from 1946 to 1959 in the Sahara Desert. These remains were fragments of the skull, vertebrae, teeth, and scutes. In 1964, an almost complete skull was found in Niger by the French CEA, but it was not until 1997 and 2000 that most of its anatomy became known to science, when an expedition by the American paleontologist Paul Sereno discovered 6 new specimens, including one with about half the skeleton intact and most of the spine. Sarcosuchus made an appearance in a Walking with Dinosaurs special and really ate Nigel Marvin. It also made a debut in the popular show The Most Extreme, where it's shown how big it is compared to its closest relative, the Nile crocodile. It's also in its own documentary called Supercroc, where paleontologists dig up Sarcosuchus and try to figure out how it lived. It made an appearance in Planet Dinosaur when it fought over a young Titan with a Paragontosaurus.
Alright then, thank you, Scott. Now we're on to the paleo news. And Greg, I think this story is right up your alley with the prehistoric mammals.
Yep, and this story first came to my attention through Dr. Tom Holtz. Researchers find the pigments of prehistoric mammals. Scientists from Virginia Tech and the University of Bristol have revealed how pigment can be detected in mammal fossils, a discovery that may end the guesswork in determining the colors of extinct species. The researchers discovered the reddish brown color of two extinct species of bat from fossils dating back about 50 million years, marking the first time the colors of extinct mammals have been described in fossil analysis. The techniques can be used to determine color from well-preserved animal fossils that are up to 300 million years old, researchers said. The researchers said microscopic structures traditionally believed to be fossilized bacteria are in fact melanosomes, organelles within cells that contain melanin, the pigment that gives color to hair, feathers, skin, and eyes. Fossil melanosomes were first described in a fossil feather in 2008 by Jacob Venter, a molecular paleobiologist at the University of Bristol, and the senior author of the current study. Since then, the shapes of melanosomes have been used to look at how marine reptiles are related and identify colors in dinosaurs and now mammals. And this is something we have previously reported on in past episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, there was a paper about the marine reptiles in Nature about a year ago, 2 years ago, somewhere.
I'll read our next news story here. But before I go into that, it is exciting that now it's no longer guesswork. And I know we've talked about this before with the discoveries with marine reptiles and dinosaurs knowing what color they are. This just goes to show you that the fossil record, though it is incomplete, it has a lot more to say than most people would think. And we can only hope that maybe one day we'll probably get the answers to what colors, like animals such as Dimetrodon or Doncolostes, what color they were. Doncolostes, what color they were. Moving on to our next story, research reveals new findings of the earliest iguanodonts of North America. The findings were published this week in the online journal PeerJ, are significant because they could help piece together the evolutionary picture of the Dicotodon lacotatensis and its descendants. New research by South Dakota Mines paleontologist Darren Powdrick, Ph.D., and Clint Boyd, Ph.D., and former mines paleontologist, now employed with the North Dakota Geological Survey, determined the dinosaurs between 135 and 127 million years old, putting it in the geologic age of the early Cretaceous period, making it one of the earliest types of such dinosaurs known from North America. The original excavation site was relocated in 2014 with the aid of Rossau's grandchildren. Relocation of the site helped Pandick and Boyd determine the precise age of the specimen. At the Paleontology Research Laboratory on campus, then preparator Mindy Householder conducted additional preparation and conservation, revealing new anatomy and other information not included in the original description. Householder's work exposed several new bones not included in the original description, and revealed some bones that were previously misidentified. Extensive deformation due to fossilization processes in the areas of the skull were also noted that influenced inaccuracies of prior descriptions and reconstructions, according to Pandick and Boyd. The source of this paper came in KDLT.com.
Okay, the next story is new fossil dinosaur. Okay, the next story is new fossil dinosaur Ostrosaurus found in northwest Queensland. Fossils of an Australian dinosaur dating back more than 100 million years have been unearthed for the first time since a famous discovery in the 1930s. The bones, thought to be from the Ostrosaurus mckellipi, were found at Clutha Station near Richmond in northwest Queensland. Dr. Timothy Holland, curator of Crotosaurus Corner at Richmond Station near Richmond, at Richmond said in 1932, Overseer Harry Burgoyne Wade stumbled across some fragments of backbone, but Dr. Holland said it had been thought the site location had been lost since then. Attempts to find more of the original Ostrosaurus specimen in the 1970s and 1990s were unsuccessful, which led to the assumption that the site was lost, along with it the chance to learn more about Ostrosaurus, he said. However, in 2014, Richmond Mayor John Horton searched Clutha Station from a helicopter and found two wooden posts marking the original dig site. Dr. Holland said C.R. Horton's family had owned the property at some stage where the bones were found. C.R. Horton was told by Mr. Wade's son, Richard Wade, that the post signified the site of the discovery of Ostrosaurus. Dr. Holland said the bones that were found were approximately 104 million years old. He said some of the bones would be shown for the first time at Carnosaurus Corner at Richmond on Saturday. At 6:30 p.m., we've got our gala dinner to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the museum, and the bones will be revealed to the public there. They're very, very excited. They haven't been seen by anybody on display yet. Ostrosaurus mcculloughi was a land-dwelling herbivorous dinosaur that grew up to 15 meters in length with a barrel-like body and 4 pillar-like legs.
All right, then. Thank you, Scott. And that's another interesting. Could you imagine if we could find all of the sites that, say, like Cope and Marsh had found out west? A lot of those sites are now lost because they didn't do proper documenting of those sites.
Back in the 90s, there was almost plesiosaur specimen found around there in Richmond.
Oh, cool. And now coming up next is our popular culture segment, www.patreon.com/prehistoryatg. And thanks for watching.
Good night.
Popular culture segment with the movies. To start us off with, we have a double feature tonight. John Goodman joins the cast of Kong Skull Island. As the nuclear dust starts to settle on high probability that in the near future we could be seeing a remake of 1962's King Kong vs. Godzilla, we are left with the fallout that Kong Skull Island is now being distributed by Warner Brothers and will feature the top-secret government organization Monarch, which first appeared in Gareth Edwards' Godzilla. Being set in the 1970s, a whole 40 years before the events of Godzilla, cancels out the possibility of Ken Watanabe representing the Kaiju Hunting Task Force, though it is highly possible that the movie's latest edition, Hollywood and U.S. television legend John Goodman, would be fulfilling that role. Goodman is reported to play the role of a character called Randa, a Monarch government official that leads the expedition to Skull Island. The source, sci-fi.com. And tag you're it, Greg, because you want to do this story.
Of course. This news story concerns the forthcoming adaptation of Steve Alten's best-selling novel, Meg. And this concerns statements from director Eli Roth explaining why he's going to go CG for the giant shark, for the big shark. Alright, got the news story from Collider.com. After spending many years dominating the independent low-budget horror realm, Eli Roth is finally getting to After Attack of the Big Studio film. Talking to Collider, Eli Roth discussed how he's going to bring Meg to life in his adaptation of Steve Alten's best-selling novel, Meg, a novelty terror. Now he's taking on a big controversy. Not cannibals, not brutal castrations, or evil clowns. It's something more feared and loved by the horror community, CGI. And he says here, quote, "The thing is with Meg, the size of the creature, it sort of becomes impractical to do it practically, but I've seen how they've done the whale in the movie In the Heart of the Sea, which for any of you who don't know is the retelling of the true story that inspired Irvin Melville's Moby Dick. They showed me footage and like, before you judge CG, take a look at this, and I was like, oh my god, the whale in the heart of this, the whale in the heart of the sea looks so good. I was like, alright, we're good. I wouldn't do the movie unless I believe the technology was there to do it. And the great thing is with Warner Brothers and the team we're doing it, we're going to have the resources to do it right."
Thanks, Greg. And I'm looking forward to it. Moving along, tonight's book recommendation is The Hot-Blooded Dinosaurs by Adrian Desmond. I personally got this book recently, and it's a very interesting book. It's one of the earlier books that started promoting the idea that a lot of Mesozoic reptiles, dinosaurs, plesiosaurs, etc., were warm-blooded, active animals, and it was one of the earliest popular literature to support this notion, being published in 1975, and I've read it all the way through by this point, and I have to say it's very remarkable, and it rings a lot Dr. Robert Backer's book, The Dinosaur Heresies. And it actually goes into the history of discovery, the initial ideas that a lot of scientists had, such as Sir Richard Owen, Dr. Gideon Mantel.
John Ostrom.
Yes.
Copernicus was really the major thing that started the idea.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm saying that it actually goes back even further with the earliest ideas. Richard Owen at first thought that these animals were warm-blooded, but because of his, I guess you could say, some of his own biases, since he classified them as reptiles, they had to be cold-blooded. But yes, it also goes into great detail about John Ostrom as well, and the discovery of Deinonychus. But it's not just dinosaurs either. It goes into pterosaurs and marine reptiles like mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, and etc. So it's a really...
There was a guy named Newman published a paper back in 1847 claiming that he thought that pterosaurs were marsupial bats.
Yeah, it actually goes into that too when it talks about pterosaurs in the book. I can't recall who it was, but overall it is a very good book, and it's an easy read. It's not a lot of technical jargon and all that, but it is a very interesting read. It's got a lot of good illustrations, drawings, and photographs as well, so I recommend it for anyone who wants to get an idea of how the history of the dinosaur renaissance and other changing ideas seem to come about recently. But moving along...
Well, okay, we have a double feature of both Mesozoic and Prehistoric Kingdom news. Live stream of gameplay of Mesozoic was announced for the 29th and revealed the first modern version of Allosaurus in appearance to Jurassic World's Irex. But the big news for Mesozoic here that I'm going to announce right here now is that they hit their $50,000 fundraising goal on Kickstarter earlier this morning. Currently sitting at $51,222. The project will be funded this coming Monday, October 5th at 7:25 p.m. Eastern Time. So a big party congratulations to every person who pledged and upped their pledge to get this game made into reality. And despite our falling out with Max Wood Company a long time back, we're still going to be buying this game when it comes out in the last half of the year.
True to that. Congratulations to everyone on the Mesozoic development team. We wish you well, and we hope to play your game. And moving on from that, we have Prehistoric Kingdom reveals a new interface and gives more details about their project goals. And essentially, their goals are about how they're dedicating a lot of time to things such as the architecture and landscaping of the game featured in the game, as well as basically trying to make it as appealing as possible to everyone, and going into a lot of how they're making it into a great tycoon game. And the quote from their website here, simply put, our attention to management, architectural value, and landscape. Yes, aside from the attention to our creatures, the game's all about them after all. These three things are our focus here, and we want to make the experience of building a prehistoric kingdom a fun thing above all, but also something rewarding. This is why we will do our possible best to give the players what they need to build the park of their dreams whilst having a lot of fun. And I have to say, that is pretty strong stuff there. And like with Mesozoica, we can't wait to see this game come out and play it. And now on with the Paleo bits with Scott.
Fossil. Okay, the exact size of Paraceratherium is unknown because of the incompleteness of the fossil. The weight is estimated to have been 15 to 20 tons, 33,000 to 44,000 pounds at most. The shoulder height was about 4.8 meters, 16 feet, and the length about 7.40 meters to 24.3 feet. The legs were long and pillar-like. The long neck supported a skull that was about 1.3 meters or 4.3 feet long. It had large, fist-like incisors and a nasal incision that suggested it had a prehensile upper lip or proboscis. The lifestyle of Paraceratherium may have been similar to that of modern large mammals such as the elephants and extant rhinoceros. This is also the same animal known as Boeotherium and Indricotherium.
The largest mammal ever to exist outside of whales.
Pretty much, yes. Only a few species of Proboscidea could even rival it.
Oh yes, I've heard about that.
The new, I think, mammoth subspecies that was found in Asia?
India, I think.
India. Well, that's in Asia. Well, anyways, it's all pretty interesting. I hope they find more of this creature because it's, you don't normally think mammals, of course you see like elephants, mammoths, and all that being quite a big, but you still think them to be very small compared to like a dinosaur. But then you see this mammal that dwarfed some medium-sized dinosaurs. It makes you wonder, what else could we find? And so...
cryptozoology note, people have been fishing around for an alternate candidate for Mokele Mbembe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this might be a potential candidate.
I would think so.
Not a reptile.
I would think so too, because if I'm not mistaken,
something related to it.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this animal, I could be mistaken, but I think this animal did live more near, towards swamps and lakelands better than sauropods did. So
well, they're mass grave of aquatic rhinos from Wyoming, Nebraska.
Yeah.
I can't think of the genus off the top of my head, but they live like hippos, but they were rhinos.
Mm-hmm. So similar lifestyle, and they would have, and that helps, avoid some of the population mechanics issues with the idea of sauropods living in Africa up after the KT extinction event. But still, it's as much. I would say it's a much more likely candidate, in my opinion. But like any,
well, it's the closest thing a mammal has ever come probably to a sauropod. It's got the long neck and it's got the big body.
Very true.
It's got sauropod type, so I'm just saying, it's something that occurs later in time than the sauropods, as far as we know.
Moving on, though, to Longless squama, our paleofauna of the week. The dimensions of this creature is about 2.5 centimeters, though the fossil is incomplete, and the longest of its noted scales is about 8 centimeters long, counting the longest. The classification of Longless squama is that it's an ambiguous diapsid and has no bearing on the origin of birds. Before the mainstream idea of dinosaurian ancestor to birds, this creature was proposed as a candidate for the ancestry of birds. Moving on to its paleobiology, Llama squama means long scales. The specific name insignius refers to its small size. The Llama squama holotype is notable for a number of long structures that appear to grow from the skin. These structures are long and narrow throughout most of their length and angled backward near the tip, giving it the appearance of a hockey stick. Older reconstructions of Llama squama shows it plumes in a pattern akin to gliding lizards like Draco and Cuneosaurus, allowing it to glide or at least parachute. Though this is now thought to be inaccurate, versions of this reconstruction are still often seen on the internet and elsewhere. Its habitat, there is only one species of Longless squama, known from a poorly preserved skeleton and several incomplete fossil impressions from the Middle to Late Triassic Median Formation in Kazakhstan. Now, there's also a lot to do with this animal's scales. There's one hypothesis that it could be just leaves from a tree, but the only thing that discounts that idea is that there's no carbon impressions around the scales to suggest carbonization like you commonly find in plant fossils. And it does seem that it is connected to the rib cage, but the fossil is poorly preserved. So now we go into the prehistoric matchup.
But more importantly, I have an artist spotlight to announce for this segment especially. We have 2 new artists we're spotlighting tonight, and the big one making her first debut is Miss Emily Willoughby, one of the most talented dromaeosaur artists we possibly could think of. So, you check out her work. Do very much do so. Enough said about Miss Emily here. We also have a picture of Utah Raptors taking down an Astrodon by T-Peck, and we have another new picture of the Utah Raptor from Green Mamba. And our fight spotlight picture goes to March 90. And our pal from Australia, Stephen Stark, used some of his Deinonychus models to stand in for Utah Raptor during the hunt. Now, on to the facts for the Utah Raptor. And as previously described, the Utah Raptor is the largest known member of the Dromaeosauridae family, or raptors. The largest described specimen of Utah Raptor, Ostromaeosaur specimens, are estimated to have been up to 23 feet long and somewhat less than 1,100 pounds of weight. Comparable in size to polar bears and grizzly bears. And they stood about 3 meters or 9 feet tall, just standing over the head of a man. The fossil specimens date to the upper Barremian stage of the early Cretaceous period. Rocks are dated to 126 to 2.5 million years ago. Like other dromaeosaurs like Deinonychus and Velociraptor, Utah Raptor has large curved claws on the second toe. One claw specimen was preserved at 22 centimeters or 8.7 inches long, And in a living animal, it would have been up to 9.4 inches long, restored. It is thought the Utah raptor may be closer to this smaller Dromaeosaurus and the giant Mongolian Dromaeosaur genus Achillobert, whom we previously featured in Paleofauna. In 2007, scientists described the first known extensive Dromaeosaur trackway in Shandong, China. In addition to confirming the hypothesis that the single claw is held retracted off the ground, the trackway, made by a large Achillobert-sized species, showed evidence of 6 individuals of about equal size traveling together along a shoreline. The individuals were spaced about a meter apart and retained the same direction of travel, working at a fairly small pace. This suggests that, along with fossil evidence from Deinonychus, that even large raptors like Utah raptor may have lived and hunted in packs.
So it's lived during the late period, Kimmeridgian to early Carbonian, 100 million years ago, in what is now western North America. A large, heavily herbivorous quadruped, Stegosaurus had a distinctive and unusual posture, with a heavy rounded back, short forelimbs, head held low to the ground, and a stiffened tail held high in the air. Its array of plates and dagomizer has been the subject of much speculation. Stegosaurus could have maneuvered its rear easily by keeping its large hind limbs stationary, pushing off with its very powerfully muscled but short forelimbs, allowing it to swivel deftly to an attack. With dagomizer spikes, each about 60 centimeters or 2 to 3 feet long, and protruding horizontally from the tail. Stegosaurus could have maneuvered its rear easily, keeping its large hind limbs stationary, pushing off from its very powerful muscle with short forelimbs, allowing it to swivel deftly to deal with the attack. A study of tail spikes by McWhinney et al. Showed a high incidence of trauma-related damage, lends more weight to the position of the spikes were indeed used in combat. This study showed that 9.8% of Stegosaurus specimens had injuries to their tail spikes. Additional support for this idea was a punctured tail vertebrae of an Allosaurus in which the tail spike fit perfectly. So, and we're talking about 6 Utah raptors versus 1 Stegosaurus?
No, 3. 3 Utah raptors versus Stegosaurus. We didn't want to...
Well, the advantage, in my opinion, gets the Utah raptors, unless they happen to get on the wrong side of that tail, so I don't know, you know.
I favor the raptors.
I think the way I see the fight going down in my mind is at least one of those raptors are probably going to wind up getting killed. If they used tactics similar to wolves today, I'm pretty sure one of them would try to distract the Stegosaurus while the other 2 would try to lunge for the attack. But I think that one of them would at least get killed by that Thagomizer, so I would say it would definitely be in favor of the raptors, but they will take a heavy loss.
I pick the raptors here. I pick the raptors for being simply put, possibly very exceptional pack hunters, and given their size and agility, they would be very hard targets for a Stegosaurus to nail, which is more used to fighting a larger sauropod like Allosaurus, never having to deal with smaller, more intelligent predators like Utah raptor. Herbivores generally don't have as good of self-defense skills as similar-sized carnivores. And not to mention, once Utah raptor actually got onto the side of the Stegosaurus, it would not have very much of a method of getting them off, like compared to the Ankylosaurs that coexisted alongside the Utah raptor.
True, and...
Yeah, the Stegosaurus sides, its flanks were really vulnerable. That they assumed that raptors could jump. You know, one of them got on flanks, Stegosaurus, it would be really...
True, and given those plates, I'm pretty sure if the raptors could leap and jump, that would give them something they could hold on to while they're doing their vicious kicking, or even if they're trying to pin that prey down, given whichever model of killing you prefer. So it's looking pretty bad for the Stegosaurus, and I agree, I will side with the raptors. If it was one-on-one, then I would still think that the Stegosaurus would have a greater chance, but since this is 3-on-1, then yes, the raptors will definitely go down, and possibly with at least one of them dying. According to Bacher, the tail of the Stegosaurus is very flexible compared to other ornithischian dinosaurs, so he could probably come around probably about 180, maybe not quite 180, but somewhere in there, and be able to swing around, hit one of the raptors before it could leap.
Well, there was debate in the past whether the back plates were flexible and could have folded down to kind of shield the back.
Yeah.
I don't know how current that is now.
Backer argued for it in...
That's back in the 90s, I think?
Late 80s, early 90s, because I'm familiar with the study you're talking about. Ken Carpenter did a study in the late 90s that showed that this wasn't possible, but he also argued that the Stegosaurus couldn't rear or swing its tail that much, so his studies were also a little bit flawed, but I don't know if from all the modern research done that Stegosaurus, their plates could move a little bit, but not that much to be like protecting. Plus, they're too thin to be armor. Given that even an Allosaurus could break one of those plates with a bite.
Maybe it was for sexual display. I don't know.
That's the current hypothesis now, that it was social display or sexual display as well. As for
the spikes were weapons and stuff.
Oh yeah, the Thagomizer been, as we just got done reading, it was a weapon. Overall, it will a very deadly one.
Yes, and it would hurt anything that it hit. One blow from that could kill one raptor. No doubt about it. Especially if it landed in the head or neck.
Or just the chest cavity alone, but like you said, both of you said that the Utah Raptors would win ultimately because they just have numbers. So overall, I think we've covered everything, guys.
I would say so, yeah.
And we've also given a very impressive lecture on Stegosaurs and Utah Raptors, so there's a bonus for everyone.
Yep.
Alright, well... Come on already, slow. Alright. Well, like we said, thank you everyone for watching. And once again, we're your hosts, Dakota, Greg, and Scott. Thank you to our behind-the-scenes researchers, Steve Starkey and Ace Predator, and our contributors, GigaFan123 and Sounder1995. Thanks to all the artists who contributed their work for this episode. Fanferix, Amorous Dino, Handari Nindu, Tuo Casavini, Megabass22, Ralph O. Art, Galileo N, Fire Cobra, Nambinski, Tetrafornis, Dust Devil, Paleo Alios, March 90, Steve, once again, thanks for your art, Emily Willingbee, T-Pack, Green Mamba, Canis Artilimo, and Franz Joseph 73. Thanks again for all of your and for doing all your great work. And once again, please help support our show at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/prehistoryatg. And thanks for watching.
Good night.
Good night.